So you worked on direwolves, I know of that. I know you recently announced something about the dodo.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then there is also the origin idea of a woolly mammoth. Right? What else have you worked on successfully or plan to work on in the future? Like what are the other species?
So the species that we're working on that we've announced outside the direwolves, obviously, we have the woolly mammoth project that we're working on, the Tasmanian tiger project we're working on, also known as the thylacine, which is a super cool animal, the dodo, and then we most recently announced with the Naitahu Research Center, which is part of the Maori tribe of the South Island of New Zealand, and Peter Jackson, the South Island giant moa, which is awesome. They're all awesome. But the South Island, there were about 9 species of moa. I don't know. Do you know anything about the moa?
No, what is a moa?
So the moa is this 13, at least the giant moa, South Island giant moa, is a 13-foot bird that's flightless, that was flightless. It went extinct about 600 years ago, hunted to extinction by the Maori people, and it had 0. You saw a photo, yeah.
Generally, we have a screen somewhere here, but it's like an ostrich for people that are listening.
It's like a giant, but it doesn't have wings like an ostrich. So it has 0 wings.
Okay,
super weird looking bird. Yeah, super weird. And the feathers, that's an artistic rendition. That's not. They didn't have those cameras 600 years ago, and its feathers are almost hair-like. So think of like a larger ostrich that's completely, including the neck and everything, it's completely covered in like hair-like feathers with no wings at all. It's a weird looking thing. It's probably the closest thing that humans lived. It's not the closest thing genetically, but it is the closest thing probably that represents like a dinosaur bird.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like the New Zealand. They don't have a lot of. I don't think they have any dinosaurs that have been discovered in New Zealand. But it's like bones that have been discovered in New Zealand. If they've actually had dinosaurs, that'd be another story. But but it's like the closest thing that they had there, and maybe that we as humans have kind of lived along. So it was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool animal.
So there's the moa, there is the thylacine, there is the dodo, there is the woolly mammoth, there's a direwolf.
Yeah, and well, there's direwolves now. That's more on the animal care side now. The other ones were on the genetic engineering side. And then I guess technically we have to throw it in because I don't want to make anyone mad. We also have woolly mice that we made, but that was more of a test case. Like,
got it.
We did that as a prototype. It was a prototype, right? It was our miniature viable product. Right. Yeah, our MVP.
Right.
And that's where we actually engineered and showed that our end-to-end screening process worked for the edits, and we did all of the hair phenotypes from a mammoth. So we engineered the mouse equivalent, because there's about 200 million years of genetic divergence between mice and elephants. And so from a welfare perspective, we wouldn't just ram weird stuff into weird stuff, right? So we did the computational analysis to find what are the specific genes that are the equivalent in mice, and we engineered them in on one multiplex editing array, which is pretty awesome. And then we had successfully like 36 born woolly mice in 1 month. So we did that. That was a 1 month project, which is kind of insane. And so we have them, and that was more of a test to see if we're on the right track for the mammoth, which is pretty cool. And then so those are the projects that we're working on. We are full disclosure, we're exploring some others, but those are the ones that are in full production right now.
I'm sure some people have asked you about dinosaurs.
Yeah, we believe it or not, we get the dinosaur question quite a bit. Yeah.
How come? Why? How are people?
So the oldest DNA that we work with is about 1.5, 1.6 million years old. It's from a steppe mammoth, right? Which, by the way, some people in the mammoth world argue that steppe mammoths were woolly mammoths and all this other stuff. But that's another taxonomy fight for people that want to have that fight. But the DNA, I don't like to say the word impossible. I think it's highly unlikely we will ever find dino DNA because dinosaurs died off, 65 million years ago. People say, but what about amber? Amber is hot. It was in hot, wet places. That's actually a terrible DNA store. It's also very porous, so a lot of microbes went in there. So I don't think we will ever find true dino DNA, regardless of like some clickbait article you'll see on Instagram occasionally, right? And I fall for those too. I click on them every single time. But because it's about 65 million years old, and so I don't think we'll ever find dino DNA. So I don't think that we can bring back a dinosaur. Even though, and so that either makes some people very happy and some people on Reddit very mad.
No, but I feel like the fundamental question here is how far can you go? Because I feel like, okay, sure, the odds are you never find dino DNA.
Yeah.
Unless there's some jackpot lottery, some gold rush somewhere,
Yeah.
you find something.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's a gamut of other species that you could still
Yeah.
go back with. And so I'm just
Yeah.
trying to understand
I think
how far does this go?
So DNA starts to degrade pretty quickly, and so obviously the more recent DNA that's better well preserved, the better it is. Most of the DNA we're working on the mammoth is tens of thousands of years old, 30,000 years old, 50,000 years old. I think that right now 1.5, 1.6 is about as far as it goes. It's unclear, and those are small fragments. So could you have something that's better preserved? I think that the early Pleistocene era is probably as far back as you'll.
Which is dated for me. That's like 1.2?
Yeah.
1 to 2 million?
1 to 2 million
years
old.
ago.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's about as I. So I think that anything in that, there's a lot of cool stuff. Then, just to be clear, there's woolly rhinos, there's giant ground sloths. There's this thing called the glyptodon, which is like, think of an armadillo that's the size of a Volkswagen Beetle.
I've seen it.
There's a giant beaver.
Yeah.
There was like a 6-foot beaver, which is either like the dumbest thing or the scariest thing ever. Unclear. So there was a lot of cool stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and so I don't know when the Titan. This I doubt there's DNA for, because I think this is probably like, I don't know, I'd have to look. So I want to say it's like more. I think it's more like 5 or 6 million years ago. There's a Titan boa, which we would never do, even if there was DNA. It was like a giant, like a super anaconda.
Right.
But it was in like but I think that was like 5 or 6 million years ago.
Very interesting, huh?
Yeah.